Hi, everybody. I have a very special guest with me today, and I'll tell you a quick story about how I reached out to Shri uh, with me over here today. I was just browsing through some content on LinkedIn, talking specifically about SDR strategies, reach outs, right? And LinkedIn is replete with those kinds of contents. And one of the comments, came out rather interesting because, Shri, I'll tell you something. When I look at all these comments, like people trying to engage on LinkedIn, right, across people talking about strategies on code, reach out, etc.
Yeah,
I feel, or what I discovered is that most of these comments are not genuine. Now, what do we mean by that?
yeah,
I mean that
yeah,
the intent people are putting on those comments is not so much to exchange ideas or to
yeah,
let share their opinions, but I feel
yeah,
it's more to get attention and traction. And
yeah,
in that
exactly.
crowd of comments, and a lot of those are these days triggered by AIs as well. I found
Yeah,
your comment to be genuine and
yeah,
unique. I
yeah,
thought the reason you commented was because it came out from a pain point, I would say, and
yeah,
working on the field. And so
yeah,
it was not
yeah,
very generic. So that's the reason I reached out to you,
yeah,
requested, if you can have a quick chat
yeah,
around the reach out strategies.
yeah,
Specifically, in today's conversation, Sri, I wanted to keep my focus more on the pointers that people don't really talk about. Because when it comes to
yeah,
cold reach outs, right,
yeah,
whether it's cold email, basically generating business, right? And
yeah,
it's not a new domain. Like people, anybody in business, for thousands
yeah,
of years, they have been, trying to reach out to people. And the
yeah,
entire premise of a cold reach out is to try and see if this person has a need for your product and services, right?
yeah,
But that
absolutely.
does
Yeah,
come across with its own set of challenges.
yeah,
We'll cover some of these points, Sri. Let me now
yeah,
turn the focus onto you. And
yeah,
if you can tell me, one of the first things that I was wondering, so I noticed you are a BDM with a
yeah,
design studio, and
yeah,
you are
yeah,
also working and mentoring a lot of non-native English speakers globally,
yeah,
and helping them
yeah.
up their English communication skills. Would that be right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yes. So I help professionals, non-native professionals with and entrepreneurs with their
So,
business English. So help them with English presentations, being able to make presentations, attend interview confidently, and also just be able to speak, be able to express themselves better.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, and I'm also like a business development manager for a branding and design studio, which is based out of Pune,
Okay.
but I'm based out of Bangalore. So but I do work with them, and I reach out and I network, and that's what I do. So yeah, absolutely. So as you said, BDM or business development isn't new. It's been going on for it's been there
Absolutely.
for many
Yeah.
years, and it's always about trying to reach out to the right people. And I think the fundamental thing is what I'm noticing is a lot of people are trying to convert non-customers or non-buyers into customers. They're trying
Mm,
to go after the wrong target. They don't qualify the leads, or they just
yeah.
try to. It isn't about trying to convert people who are not buying into customers. That
Right.
isn't the goal here.
Right.
So I think that's where the process really starts. And as a business development is more into building relations, building partnerships, and that as well. The titles are often overlapped.
Hmm.
There's a lot of so there's a lot of overlap between the titles about what sales does and what business development does. So yes, it is primarily about being able to build relations and
True that.
yeah,
True that.
and drive
So
revenue. Yeah,
see, let me circle back to that particular point. And
yeah,
then I have always pondered about that
yeah,
specific point, right? Especially when it
yeah,
comes to cold reach outs. So
yeah,
we understand that cold reach out has a volumetric approach to it. So
yeah,
the rule of the thumb is the more people you reach out to, higher the chances of at least some of these people responding
yeah,
positively, and maybe that transcending into some opportunities, right?
yeah,
But
yeah,
on the flip side of it, we also hear a lot of advice around building relationship. Now, let's say from
yeah,
the point of view of a SDR who has a
yeah,
specific target aligned to him or
yeah,
her, and they're
yeah,
trying to meet that target. Now,
yeah,
if you are taking the volumetric approach, the challenge with
yeah,
that is you do not have the bandwidth to
yeah.
research about this particular profile. to frame insights about this person and then, leverage on these insights to
Yeah,
initiate a meaningful or relevant conversation. Because that takes time, right?
yeah,
If you are trying to form a
yeah. That
relationship with
takes
a
time.
person, that takes time. And we understand that if
Yeah,
you identify a couple of prospects who you think may have opportunity for you in the future. So you put your due time in the
yeah,
nurturing part. So when you're nurturing,
yeah,
it makes sense that you're putting some research amount into that profile. But on a day-to-day basis, whether you're reaching out to 30 or 50, contacts every day, it's a
yeah,
contradictory idea when we talk or suggest or advise SDRs or teams or BDMs even to reach out to people, and they're confused
yeah,
that should they reach out to more number of people, or should they rather refine the ICP rather than reaching out
yeah,
to 50 people or 40 people in a day? They reach out to just
yeah,
maybe 8 or 10, but make
yeah.
sure that they are investing good amount of time, at least reasonable amount of time to research on their profile and then form meaningful conversation. So what's your take on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a fine balance. So and also depends on the company. So
Mm,
if a sales rep is working or a sales development representative is working for a large corporation and they're able to and they can afford to have the sales intelligence such as Zoom Info. These are
right.
Zoom Info, or it can be the other CRMs which can provide this intelligence. Then I think the outreach can be more specified now versus an individual who's trying to do that, or it's a small company and who is trying to do this.
True.
I think it's more about being able to research a lot, and I think an omni-channel approach is better. So
Mm,
yes, if you're too specific, then even if it's overly specific, then I think it still wouldn't yield the results. However, even
mm,
if it's mass outreach, like if you're trying to contact everybody and try to reach everybody, that wouldn't be a great approach either. So and that is what is happening with particularly email marketing, right? So a lot of email marketing, thousands and thousands of email marketing messages go out, but they don't yield the results. Sure,
yeah.
what in my experience I have seen, yes, okay, they do open the emails, okay, they do click on the link, and that's about it. And a great opening rate or a great click-through rate doesn't mean it will translate to dollars. So that is the issue. Now, on the other hand, yes, you need to understand the customer, be able to it, be able to identify what their needs are, and then be more specific, understand the
True.
ICP
Yeah.
more specifically. Yeah. So that is also an approach. So I think both are needed. It is a numbers game, but at the same time, you also have to be more focused. So it's both that's what in my opinion, that's what I think is a better thing. Yeah.
True. True.
Is a better
Makes
approach.
sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So now, when we talk about, let's say reaching out to these people, right?
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
specifically talk about a couple of mediums like using
Yeah.
messaging on LinkedIn and then email
Yeah.
reach out that you mentioned. Now, we
Yeah.
know that email campaigns are nasty when it comes to getting results,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I wouldn't even say there's a lot of effort going in because we just, initially set that, drip campaign up and it, keeps on figuring the
Yeah.
emails. But
Yeah.
it's more of a ritualistic process that we're still following than something which
Yeah.
kind of is a high yield game.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when it comes to reaching out to these people on a day-to-day basis, let's say I'm an FPR, right? I
Yeah.
started my Monday
Yeah. Yeah.
morning and I'm
Yeah.
planning my reach out for the day. So
Yeah.
how do you, on your day-to-day basis, decide that, okay, for today, I want to do a volumetric approach. Maybe I want to, figure 100 emails and reach out to, just cold approach on LinkedIn, 40, 50 people, or maybe I just focus on 10 people today. I can understand about based on their posts, based on comments that they're making on the profile, what's their pain point, and then try and see if my product or service somehow addresses that pain point, and then pick that up as a hook to initiate the conversation. So how do you decide which approach you're going to take on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, absolutely. So on LinkedIn, I would always take a personalized approach. I would go through their profile because all the information is available. So
Yeah.
I think I would a cold DM there is it wouldn't be, it's pretty much brainless because I would go through their profile, I understand,
Mm,
okay, and then even Google them, yeah, even Google them and understand, okay, what event were they at or what information can I get? Okay, there may not be everything. You may not, they may, we may not be, or I may not be able to identify what their, if they're in the market for buying something, but
right.
I do understand, okay, what their previous work experiences was, or what are their interests. So all of this information is available. Okay, who do they listen to? Who do they talk about? What spaces or groups they participate in. So I'm able to
Mm,
understand all of that, and I'll try to find something I can get an interest into, and then we can initiate conversation about it. Let's say they, for example, they like to play chess or something. So I'll speak to them and say, okay, hey, how is this going? So there has to be something common I'll try to establish. And then I'll try to reach out to them. Now, another thing is building rapport is about being able to establish expertise. It isn't about talking. Like if in field sales, what I've seen is people
mm,
go in and they look at a photo and they start talking about their family photo or something, and they
yeah.
try to talk about their yeah. Whereas yes, you can do that, but it's more about establishing that you are an expert in your field and they are dealing with the right person. I think that's the key approach. To answer your question, yes, on LinkedIn, I would definitely always keep it with a warm approach, or try to gather as much information as possible.
True.
Um, if on the other hand, with email, yes, when I try to do email campaigns, what I do is it's a good way to get your name out there. Yes, it's mass outreach,
True.
but if
Yeah.
I am coming from particular area, I can say, okay, I exist. I exist. Okay, I can let 5,000 people know that I exist.
Yeah. So you're
Okay,
saying it's more about generating
yeah,
awareness than about generating
yep,
response.
absolutely. Yep, absolutely. It's more about it's also a it may not yield, they may not turn to buyers right away, but
Mm,
let's say that maybe down the line they say not interested, okay, and then maybe you follow up, and there may be that funnel might start narrowing, but yeah,
makes sense. Makes sense.
yeah,
Awesome. Sri, now I have
yeah,
something, kind of an interesting question for you.
yeah,
So, once again, I was
yeah,
scrolling through LinkedIn, right? And
yeah, yeah,
there, like you mentioned, there are oodles of information and
mm-hmm.
sometimes helpful tips and suggestions and templates
Yeah,
on
yeah,
the SDR process, right? And I
yeah,
was going
yeah,
through one of that, and this person,
yeah,
and he was talking about, different templates to use, and maybe it was a 10-point post or something. And I would say
yeah,
it was a helpful post. And I noticed
yeah,
another person has commented on that post and says that so much effort for spamming people. Now that kind of
yeah,
made me
yeah,
laugh because
yeah,
in one way,
yeah,
we know, especially the people who are doing cold reach outs, they understand the pain of it.
yeah,
You know, take away all the fluff and glory out of it.
yeah,
But
yeah,
lot of people that SDRs reach out to still have
yeah,
that mindset. They do not see, like, even though
yeah,
they themselves are into business, they can be,
yeah,
CXOs, or, they can be some head of department or something.
yeah, yeah,
Any
yeah,
company, whether it's a product
yeah,
or service company, the end
yeah,
goal is to generate business.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
I don't care which company or industry
Yeah,
they are into. The ones
yes,
people are reaching out to, they're also
yeah,
either they themselves or their team is generating business, but they maintain a negative attitude or pessimistic attitude
yeah,
when people do reach out to them. It's absolutely fine if
yeah,
you don't have a requirement,
yeah,
right? But
yeah,
there is, as professionals, we don't
yeah,
judge if people are offering or, reaching out to us and offering them. But
yeah,
a lot of people, at least a segment of people,
yeah,
does hold that view. And when
yeah,
SDRs are reaching out to them, rather than either ghosting them or
yeah,
politely mentioning that what we are
yeah,
reaching out for doesn't
yeah,
align with their requirement, or maybe
yeah,
not right now. Rather
yeah,
than doing that, they are kind of a little bit rude and nasty, I would
yeah,
say,
yep,
to let them know
yep,
that they're being bugged.
yep,
And
yep,
sometimes if these guys are doing follow-ups, they say, why are you spamming me, etc.
yeah, 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 absolutely, yeah.
What's your experience on that, and how does that make you feel to get those kinds of messages from people?
Yeah. Yes, to touch on what you said about the posts on LinkedIn, there is an information overload. Absolutely. There's so much information.
100%.
So
Yeah.
all of a sudden, okay, you see an influencer putting, okay, this is not how you do the banner. But
Yeah.
then immediately the post is followed by another one that says, no, no, this is how you should make
Mm.
your banner. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, okay, yes, while I try to glean as much information from that, what happens is it's still, it's still like, I know, even I am, I am a victim, a victim of that in the sense, okay, I go see so as soon as I make a banner, I try to go see, I come across one of these posts and then I'm like, it all of a sudden doesn't start to look that good then. Oh, and
Mm.
then I have to go and revise something. So there's a lot of information. That's one thing. Okay, and with the cold approach or the sales as well, there are people who say yes. Initially when you start the conversation, you have to say hi. I hope you're doing well. Okay, be human, be able to
Yeah.
reach out to them.
Yeah.
Be established, be human. Okay, that's what I hear. Then the other one, they say you have to just cut through all that and be just get to the point,
Yes.
get their attention,
Yes.
get
Yeah.
that's another thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, while I think it's very confusing. Yep, it can get very confusing with so much information there. But I think it is. Yeah, so I've had a lot of experience with that, and the with respect to ghosting, people getting ghosted or people trying to, um, people just saying no. Um, Ghosting is the worst. I think I would rather hear a no. I would rather hear a no. If prospect says no, I'm okay with that. Okay,
Absolutely.
but those are few and far in between.
Mm. Mm.
Most of them, a lot of them say, okay, no, no, I'm not interested. Great, no problem. Okay, I won't worry about that. And then there are others who fall into the category of ghosting. When I say that, okay, you follow up, follow up,
Mm.
follow up. I understand, or from the sales perspective, that the first time nothing happens. So it's a follow up. Okay, maybe six follow ups, seven follow ups, and then something may.
Right.
Then you've established. Okay.
Right.
But this can take 3 months, and if during that time if the ones who ghost are the worst, and that's when you have to realize, okay, if this is going anywhere or is not going. And that's why
Mm.
the lead qualification or being able to qualify the right people is so important. You end up spending 3 months of time, effort, money, and all the opportunity cost of not being able to reach others. That is the issue. So yes, that is one of the worst things to go through. Yeah,
Absolutely.
as a
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. See, to continue on that
yeah,
note,
yeah,
see,
yeah,
we humans, we are social beings,
yeah,
right? And one of the
yeah,
things that we seek when we are, communicating with other people is
yeah,
acknowledgement, approval, and
yeah,
validation. Now,
yeah,
even if we are not
yep,
getting approval and validation, the least we want is acknowledgement. Now,
yeah,
interestingly and
yeah,
somewhat sadly, uh,
yeah,
an important part of an SDR's day-to-day life is to get a lot of ghosting and rejection, right? So
yeah,
if they are
yeah,
reaching out to, let's say, 30 people, cold reach outs on a
yeah,
day-to-day
mm,
basis, that's about like 150 in a week and approximately anywhere between
yeah,
600 to 800 in a month. And I would say even
yeah,
a 5% positive response rate is fantastic. So which
yeah,
means that
yeah,
about, out of 800, at least
yeah,
700, 720, 730 people are either ghosting
yeah,
these people, the FDR, or, they
yeah,
are commenting, hey, thanks for reaching out, but we don't need your services right now, which is again the best
yeah,
we
yeah,
can expect when, somebody, that's the
yeah,
least we can expect
yeah,
for them to be polite and upfront and say
yeah,
no. But when
yeah,
an
yeah,
SDR,
yeah,
like these are human beings, right? Every day
yeah,
when I'm getting so many
yeah,
negative responses and ghosting, over a period of time that
yeah,
starts taking a toll on their
yeah,
confidence in terms of the strategy. So they start questioning about the strategy that they're
yeah,
using. They start questioning
yeah,
about the service and the product that they're offering. Maybe is it that not that good? Is it, is it not relevant? And finally, they
yeah,
also start questioning about their own
yeah,
ability to perform,
yeah,
and that
yeah,
starts
yeah,
taking a toll on them, especially if they miss out
yeah,
their targets a month or 2 months or 3 months.
yeah,
They start questioning, especially
yeah,
with that kind of negative response coming in day to day. So
yeah,
how do you think, even so, that being said, we still see a lot of people who are interested in their career to start their
yeah,
career as SDRs and BDMs, because of course sales is on the flip
yeah,
side of it also a rewarding career, not
yeah,
just monetarily,
yeah,
because you get that
yeah,
immediate sense and visibility of impacting a business. So if you're
yeah,
bringing business to a
absolutely.
particular company, that impact is
Yeah,
immediate, right? It's visible, it's
yeah,
quantifiable.
yeah,
But there's the other flip
yeah,
side of it that, it's a lot of frustration. So how do you,
yeah,
deal with that frustration,
yeah.
with that negative self-talk on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, there are strategies to overcome that. However, to a certain extent, it's unavoidable. Yes, rejection does
Hmm.
hurt. I'm not going to say that there are a lot of things, a lot of strategies that say don't focus on the result, don't focus on the outcomes. Just keep calling,
Yes.
or don't expect results, or anything like that, which is fine. But as the reason we get into sales or anything is because of results. Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
why we are there. That's the reason. So to
Yeah.
hit the targets, or to hit to be able to generate revenue, and to a certain extent it's very tough. But um for example, right, I used to set appointments for a firm which would help realtors in the US get more leads.
All right.
So I would call these people. So we were a lead generation firm
Hmm.
calling these. My job was to generate leads for a lead generation firm to help
Okay.
them. Okay. So, and it was tough. Like I was calling Tampa, I was calling Florida, and even Pittsburgh area, and
Mm.
it's very tough. It was very tough to
And these were cold calls.
yep, these were cold calls.
Okay.
Like but I would qualify. I would, yeah, and cold calls. It's more. We thought when we did the script, or we thought, okay, because I'm going to help them get more leads, people will
Yeah.
come running in. Nope, that's not the case though. There are so many realtors in the US that even with so many of them, they're all filled with leads. Like they are
Yeah.
saying, I can't handle a lot of people. I can't handle the ones I have now. So
Mm.
you're not even solving that problem. The lead for them is not the problem. To get them more
Yeah.
customers is not
Okay.
the problem.
Okay.
And then I've had a few of them say, okay, yes, okay, well, let's talk. Okay, let's set up a meeting, and come meeting time, no, nobody comes. So
Yeah.
ghost it.
No show. Yeah.
Ghost it several times. So yes, to the frustration is real, but I think it's about, you have to just over time. Initially it does frustrate, but with time, I think you will be able to just have to keep doing it,
True.
and then over
True.
time it'll get okay. Now it doesn't, after a while it doesn't start to
True.
uh, them saying no doesn't hurt anymore, or over the cold DMs you can get ignored. Yeah, that's one thing. Okay, it's text. But on cold call, it's very direct, or they can come back and say, "Why are you calling? You're wasting your time. Or don't call me. Get lost,
Absolutely.
whatever." So
Yeah. Yeah.
that is the hard part, for particularly who is trying to cold call. So yes, to a certain extent, you have to deal with it, and over time it gets better. But yeah,
Absolutely. No, I
yeah,
agree to that. See, I think one of the
yeah,
things that, worked for me was to
yeah,
maintain perspective. I think the main
yeah,
challenge for the SDRs,
yeah,
while
yeah,
confronting these kinds of negative responses or no show,
yeah,
is that
yeah,
there's a shift in perspective rather than
yeah,
shifting it from the. So an SDR is representing the company, the services
yeah,
and products of the company. They are not
yeah,
representing themselves, right? So the
yeah,
response
yeah.
is a response to the company's reach out, not to the SDR's reach out.
Yes,
That's one part of it.
yes,
And I also think,
yeah,
Sri, that in terms of like every particular role has its own sets of challenges, right? So
yeah,
even if you're a developer and you have a deadline to
yeah,
meet, and now a chunk of your code is not working, there's nothing you can
yeah,
do, right? There are
yeah,
developers who get really frustrated. It looks perfect,
yeah,
the
yeah,
logic looks perfect, and even
yeah,
when you are running it on
yeah,
in silo, not an integration testing, you
yes,
do an unit testing, it works, but
yeah,
at the integration
yeah,
level, it fails, and you don't know
yeah,
why, right?
no,
And
yeah,
you
exactly.
check stack
Yeah,
stack overflow and
yeah,
everything, but you don't
yeah,
get a clue.
yeah,
So every role has
exactly.
its own set of
Yeah,
challenges and all.
yes,
Maintaining
absolutely. Yeah,
perspective, I think, would be something that
yeah,
really helps these
yes,
SDRs. All
yes,
right, Sril,
exactly. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
let
Just
me
focus on the big picture. Yeah, focus on the big picture.
absolutely.
Exactly. So yeah. Just okay. Understand that. Okay, these will happen. Okay, you have to do this, and just almost robotic. Yeah, robotic. Or yes, it doesn't mean you don't
In
stop
terms of the
thinking, but still
process,
you.
yes.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that there is something like a perfect strategy? Is there
No,
anything like a perfect strategy
no. There is no
or a
silver
perfect
bullet.
tool?
No. I know. Oh, perfect tool. No, yes. Okay. Another thing I wanted to touch on. So we live in automation. Everything is
Yeah.
getting automated. Okay. You go online, everything. So CRM, you go to HubSpot, they want you to automate writing blogs to sending emails to being cold outreach, phone calls. Everything is automated. Then lead generation or being able to find leads. Um, is now AI. Okay, AI. Okay,
Yeah.
our AI can help you generate leads or be able to. A lot of automation is there,
Mm.
uh, but those are all tools. They can help, but they won't establish the relation. Yes, sure. So if I use a website like Easy Leads or HubSpot, whatever, I can get the customer. Sure, I can get the information. I can get something, but you still have to make the call, and that doesn't establish relation. So a lot of lead generation websites are just saying, giving long lists and saying,
Mm.
okay, here you go,
Mm.
call people. That is access to database doesn't mean that the customer is gonna, it's gonna convert to customer.
True.
So
True. True.
that
Absolutely
is
agree.
the thing.
Agree to
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
So
yeah,
you are into sales. You definitely have
yeah,
a career
yeah,
projection in front of you.
yeah,
You have a vision of how your career is going to progress, right?
yeah,
And like you
yeah,
mentioned about automation, you mentioned about AI, Gen AI, and all the
yeah,
products you talk about, Apollo, you talk
yeah,
about the CRMs,
yep,
right? You
yep,
talk about,
yep.
any other LinkedIn, SalesNav.
Correct,
All these tools are
correct.
leveraging, like every other tool on Gen AI, right? To
Yep,
create the leads, to segment
yes,
leads, and to
yep,
help with the ICPs, and also with tools like Lead Labs, which helps you to
yep,
profile a particular lead, so it gives you
yes,
insights like which time of the day that this lead is most active on LinkedIn,
yeah,
based on their posts and comments, what's their primary motivation or influence in terms of
yeah,
the topics that interest them personally.
yeah,
And these are insights that are scraped from their profiles. You
yep,
don't have to spend time on that.
yep,
That being
yep,
said, if we break down or if we try to oversimplify the role of a SDR, it would be to generate contacts,
yep,
define an ICP, and then generate contacts
yep,
that match closely with this ICP, and reach out to these
right,
people talking about their
yep,
products and services, and try to
yep,
schedule a call with a
yep,
business consultant. Sometimes they can, that can be the SDR themselves, or it can be a different team,
yes,
and take it from
yep,
there. With the
yep,
kind of influencer integration that
yep,
AI is presently having, all these tools are leveraging.
yeah,
So they are already generating these leads, they
yeah,
are creating the profiles, and
yeah,
in bits and pieces, they are also helping with the reach out messages, sequences,
yes, yeah,
responses, and with the kind of impersonification that we see, not specifically for lead generation tools, a lot of other
yeah,
tools,
yeah,
right? AI tools, they're trying to
yes, yes,
more and more emulate the behavior and
yep,
sentiments of human beings. So when you're
absolutely,
communicating, not on video, maybe just on chat or something, you don't
yes,
immediately get to say if it's a person or a bot that you're communicating with. So
yeah,
with all of
exactly,
that closely, knitting into place, how do you
yeah.
see this particular change influencing the roles of SDR? Do you see that SDRs as a role is going to be, diminished, and it's going to be a more amalgamated role with a person who would be like a business generation person with who will, utilize all these tools to manage the entire sequence? Or do you think SDRs have been there? Maybe, 3,000 years back, we just had a different name for
Yeah.
them, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
gonna be here for the next 2,000 or 3,000 or whatever time we exist. What's your take on that?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think if it's an established company who is willing and can afford these softwares, they can because these aren't cheap. So, for example, Statista or Zoom Info, these have cost thousands of dollars a month. So, if
Mm.
the company is going to buy that, yes, still at some point the SDR will have to speak to the customer. So it's a role that isn't going to go away because that
Mm.
relationship has to be built. Yes, AI, everything has come to a point where it'll facilitate. It's almost going to bring, but it still hasn't bridged the gap where
True,
people can just buy from bots directly. That
true
hasn't
that.
happened. So sales medium, yes, that is going to be there. So those roles are, it's not, you can't completely give it to AI and let it do it.
True that.
Now, on the other hand, the companies are, if you're just starting out, you can't. It's bootstrapping, and you're unable to afford all these. Then it's more effort, and then definitely the SDR is needed because they can still call. They have to call. They have to build relations. So
Absolutely.
in any case, I think these are just going to maybe reduce the gap a bit, but the rest has to be filled by the SDRs. So, yeah,
Makes sense. I would agree to
yeah,
that. Shri,
yeah,
we are
yeah, yeah.
kind of at time. I just have one last
Oh
question
yeah,
for you.
or we okay, yeah, okay, good. Yeah, I
You
think it'll,
know,
yeah, before it cuts off or something. Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
one
No
last
problem.
question, Shri.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Anybody who wants to get into
yeah,
the SDR role or a BDM role,
yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah.
what would be maybe a couple of advice for from your side?
Yeah, I would say understand the roles clearly. Yeah, I
Mm,
would say, okay, okay, yes, you have to understand the roles because now a lot of companies as well don't understand. There's a lot of intermingling. It's like saying, okay, yes, they make BDMs. There isn't a strict role, but it's like they are making everybody appointment setters trying to close. They're trying to make BDMs. Um, you have to understand what role it is. You
yeah,
can't do everything. So
yeah,
understand the role initially, and then be familiar with the industry that you're trying to go into. If you're trying to go into office products, okay, be familiar with what you're going to do, understand it, because tough. Like customers, when you speak to customers, you have to know what you're talking about, or it's tough, or you get shut down,
true,
and it's going
true,
to ruin what you're trying to do.
absolutely,
Then what I can say is, yes, then your own self, which is like be able to deal with everything. Yes, the numbers, all of that is will come, but you have to be, how do I say, determined, or the your who you are has to be more important because it does matter. Be able to
true
take
that,
rejections or be able to take failures. Okay,
true that.
just keep continuing forward. Yeah,
Mm,
that's what I would
absolutely.
say. Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
No, I totally agree. Shri. Like I keep
yeah,
believing the role
yeah.
may evolve due to influences. It has evolved over the last many years. It will keep
Yeah,
evolving. And I
yeah.
think, there was this movie, possibly, it was Avatar, maybe, where they was talking about this
Oh,
protagonist, right? Or whoever, there was this creature, right? You need to ride on that
yeah.
creature, right? And the only way to
Okay.
do that is to form a connection with that creature, right? I think it's the
Yeah,
same thing though, with SDR. No to
yeah,
SDR
yeah,
strategy is same. It depends on your
yeah,
personality. It depends on your strengths and weakness. And every SDR
yeah,
forms their own set of style, and that eventually ends
yeah.
up working for them. So I absolutely
Yes.
think this is a wonderful role. It's absolutely rewarding. But like you
Yeah, it's
mentioned
great role.
earlier, with
Yeah,
so much of information around, it's becoming more and more
yeah.
confusing. You need to understand that,
Yes.
like you mentioned, it's okay to
Yeah,
look at all these posts and all these information, but it's not okay to
yeah,
immediately want to use all of them, or not all of it is for
yeah.
you anyway, right? So
No,
again,
no,
It's
no.
been a wonderful chat with you. I
Yeah,
wish
absolutely.
we could have
Yeah,
extended.
it
What we
was
can
great.
do is
Yeah,
maybe,
yeah.
schedule another session sometime later and talk about a couple of other
Sure.
things that we missed out related to sales and all. I'd also be interested to talk about your other profile where you are teaching
Yeah,
English
yeah.
to non-native
Yep,
speakers. That's something I
yep.
would definitely love to explore. But till next
Sure.
time, Shri, thank you so much for your
Yeah,
time today. Wonderful
absolutely.
chatting on.
Yeah, great connecting with you. Yeah, great, great. Being,
Awesome.
good at being able to share these perspectives. Okay,
Same
super.
here.
Thanks a bit.
Same here.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.